Well, good afternoon. I will call the July Planning Commission meeting to order. For those watching at home and those here this evening, let's go ahead and go around the room and introduce ourselves. I'm Chairperson Mayor Zach Ruling.
Fran Aaron.
Kelly Rosecrans.
Tom Rail.
Dave Hodge, Commission Member.
Jerry Feith, Commission Member.
Adam Taken, Planning and Economic Development Department.
Dalton Thurber.
Craig Thurber.
Dave Greenway.
Scott Kellogg.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for being here and for watching at home. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the report from the March 4th Planning Commission meeting, which is attached. Been a few months since we've seen each other, hasn't it?
I would make a motion to accept it.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the report. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. The next item on our agenda, item number 2, maps and plats received. Item A is the Cody Wills CSM. The applicant is requesting certified survey map approval for the creation of one lot and the dedication of property for public right-of-way purposes. The subject property is located on the north side of Washington Street, east of 48th Street North, part of parcel 07-00192A within the town of Grand Rapids. Approval is needed from the Planning Commission under the extraterritorial plat review statute.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second by Tom. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Adam, were there any other maps or plats received?
Nope, that's the only one we had.
Okay. Item number 3 is the public hearing on Plan-13-0362, First Baptist Church. The applicant is requesting a planned unit development to allow a church and future expansion within the R2, 1-family and 2-family residential district. Subject property is located at 910 McKinley Street, parcel 34-01953 within the city of Wisconsin Rapids. All right, we've got our staff report in front of us. Adam, did you want to speak to it?
I guess just a couple things I'd highlight. The reason initially they need to come through is it is a non-conforming use, meaning it basically was built prior to there being any zoning requirements. So now that it's located in the R2 district, in order to do anything with it, basically they need to bring it into compliance. There is 2 different ways to do that. One would be to go through a normal conditional use approval process. But since they're also proposing an addition and they were looking for some departures from the ordinance, it made more sense to do it as a planned unit development so that we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, basically. So it was recommended that they go through this process. The 3 departures they're looking for, which I would draw your attention to. Number 1 is to allow the church within the R2 district. That one's pretty straightforward. Second one is to reduce the setback on the north and west property lines. The ordinance basically for institutional buildings in an R2 district requires a 25-foot setback from property lines. They're looking to reduce it to right around 15. I think on one it's 14.6, so we usually round up when it comes to that, and then the other one is 16. So I just went with split the difference at 15 to make sure they had a little bit of leeway. So that's the second departure, and then the third departure is ordinance for parking is based on the occupancy of the church, and that would not change by the requested addition, but the existing church I think has about 180 capacity. So based on that, they need 36 parking spots. I don't believe they have 36 parking spots now, and with the addition, they would lose some as well. Somewhere between 18 and 20 spots are expected to remain, which would be half the recommended amount. One thing the applicant did point out is currently their average attendance is in the 40 range on a good Sunday, which if you use the standard of 1 spot per 5 seats, they would be still well in excess of what the ordinance would require if you go by their current congregation size. So those are the 3 things I would pull your attention to. Otherwise, planning staff did recommend approval. And the final thing I'll note is I did get 1 call on it, which was from Mike Hittner, who is a adjacent property owner. He couldn't make it, but he is in support of the request. He expects it to be of the same quality as the rehab has been up to this point, which has been an asset to the community in his works. So.
Actually, Adam, in my application, I asked for a 10-foot variance.
To reduce it from 25 to 15, or you wanted it all the way down to
All the
10?
way down to 10 if we can.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. I thought you were requesting,
I think that's
A
what
difference.
we originally talked about that, I think.
because the site plans didn't show a 10-foot needed.
And then I also had a question, is that standard from like the overhang of the eave, or is that to the wall, or how is that measured?
It's to the wall.
Okay.
I went over there this afternoon and looked at that. The only thing I could see anybody would have any objection at all would be the property that was directly in back of it. Is there any objection from those people?
I have not received anything.
So, you were talking about, there's about 25 parking spaces there already, besides what's in the street and so forth. You could park in the street, obviously. And the back part where they're talking about building this thing, I don't see where there's any parking back there anyway. I don't see any problem with this whatsoever.
I think there's a shed back there, wasn't there? Wasn't there a little pole shed?
Yeah, there's a small storage shed. I have some pictures. if you
It's
guys
very
want to see
small,
them.
yeah, but
Are you gonna wanna relocate that somewhere on?
Yeah, that'll just be moved somewhere on the property. If you want to just pass them around, that's
Sure.
pictures of the current church as it is now. Some of the improvements we've done is the handicap ramp, the new metal roof, the new shiny gold dome that you can see for a long ways.
That's noticeable.
We tore down the old Lutheran school, which is where our parking lot is now, about 5 years ago. And before that, we didn't have any off-street parking. I think it shows a little shed in one of these coming up. Yeah, but that could just be moved closer towards 9th Avenue. Yeah.
The facility looks very nice, beautiful.
It's come a long ways.
Oh, yeah, they've done a great job. That's an old building and they've done a great job with it.
I appreciate you preserving it and not tearing it down. I mean, there's
Oh, there'd be a
a
lot
lot
of
of property.
Very nice.
patrons if we ever tore it down.
Good, good.
Oh, yeah.
Maintain some
But
history.
the new addition we're proposing would be mainly for a gathering space, fellowship hall, new modern kitchen, and new modern bathrooms, which is something that we desperately need. We do have a handicap chairlift in the church, and our bathrooms are not in compliance with handicap now. You can get a wheelchair in and out of them, but of course they're way too small for what they should be.
So that's actually an improvement.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's an improvement.
I should probably officially open the public hearing, since I didn't do that when I got to the agenda item, so I apologize. We had our first person speaking in favor, which was, or not being present here, but indicating he was in favor, was Mike Hittner. For the second time, anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the request? You kind of spoke a little bit based on what your presentation was. There anything else?
My name's Dave Greenway. I'm a trustee for First Baptist Church.
Thank you.
It's a nice looking building. I can't see it would be anything but an improvement to the property.
How large is the congregation? Did you say?
Current members are around 65 on the membership roll. About the only time we get a full house is maybe a wedding or a funeral. And on Thanksgiving, we serve meals to the public, and then we get around 100 people at that usually.
I suppose the basement is
Is the
wet.
fellowship hall, kitchen, yes, and it has some water problems, which we've pretty much solved, but still damp. It's got the old rubble stone foundation on it, you know.
Well, putting another basement next to that and putting proper drainage in that would help that a lot,
Right.
I would think.
Actually, the corner we want to build onto is the problem area, so that would eliminate that wet spot.
Good.
Provided they wouldn't run into rock or something out there that we wouldn't expect, but since there was another building there.
River, I wouldn't bet on
Yeah.
it. You know you're gonna hit clay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's under there, but
And for the third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request? Seeing none, we'll close anyone wishing to speak in opposition for the first, second, anyone wishing to speak in the opposition, and third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Then we'll close the public hearing, and we'll move on to the next item, which is the action on Plan 130362, First Baptist Church. Guess we'll open it up for discussion then. Commissioners, anything else you'd like to discuss on the item, or anything else you'd like to
No, unless you have any questions on the proposed plan, it's kind of a preliminary plan, but it's basically the proper footprint.
I guess I have a couple questions. One is that the typical way that's ruled, is it's not to the eve line, it's to the building?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess I was just thinking that if it was otherwise, or if we needed to change the request, then we should do it now, and it's supposed to be 10 feet.
No, we have always taken setbacks to the building line, allowing, there's a different section of the code that allows incursions, I guess, is the word coming to mind, and it's not quite right, but it allows that additional for rough overhangs.
And then who reviews this plan? Is it the city that reviews it, or is it?
If it's over 50,000 cubic feet, it
Well, it
would
has to
require
go.
state approval. So I'm guessing it will probably require state approval.
And your finished floor to finished floor on the old church is under 8 feet?
To the basement finished floor?
Yeah, finished floor to the first floor finished floor.
No, I believe it's over 8 feet. We have a full 8-foot ceiling in the basement now.
So you're not going from one
Yeah.
basement to the other?
Yep, it would be, the main floor would line up and the basement floor would line up.
Okay, I question that because you're showing only 3 foot 8 inches of depth change, or of elevation change on the ramps. And as with your ramp up, that's really something, that's a technical thing that you're gonna have to work out with
Right.
with,
Yeah, the ramps are
Code
not
authorities.
shown properly on that plan anyway.
all right,
One ramp is proposed to go to the basement from the main entry down, and the other ramp would go up, so, it'd be going like this.
I see. So there's a double pitch on each of them.
And it shows on that picture that they both go up.
Right. Okay.
Like I said, that's a preliminary plan. We got quite a few details to work out there.
Other than that, I thought it was nice looking addition, and
It is.
I think it'll do well.
Great.
Is the facade kind of, is it similar to the,
Yeah, we
Current
use the
design.
same white vinyl siding, it's a 5-inch lap siding. We'd use the same gray metal standing seam roof. Try to get as close as we can to the windows. Won't be stained glass, but it would be the same shape. They call them a bishop top window, it's got the peak on it. And, yeah, we want it to look as close as possible as historic.
Would that begin pretty soon?
Well, that's the thing. If we get approval, wouldn't be no more this year, possibly next spring. Funding is pretty much in place. We got to iron out the plans and send them out for bids and so forth. Pending approval, we can really go any farther until we come here, so.
Well, I also got a phone call from Mike Hittner, who said he was very much in favor of this and thought it would be an asset to the community, and asked that we would move it. I would make a motion to approve it.
I second that.
Second motion.
we have a motion and a second to approve the request as presented here this evening. Any further discussion?
Can I just clarify
With,
a couple things? Number one, is it with the conditions? And number two, are you approving down to 10 foot instead of 15 foot as identified in
Yes.
the report? Thank you.
so the motion is to approve the request with the recommendations and conditions of approval as recommended by staff, and with the exception of the setback down to 10 feet instead of the reduction from 25 to 15, 25 to 10 feet. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of approving the request, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Look forward to seeing construction.
Thank you very much.
All right, commissioners, we have the final item on our agenda. We've got a short agenda this month. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.